Alrighty, everybody. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Couch Warrior podcast. I am your host, Mike, and let's break this card down. We're gonna be breaking down UFC Vegas 54 from a fantasy app perspective. By that, I just mean we're gonna be breaking it down from the point of view of DraftKings and PrizePicks. Those are the two apps that we focus on. PrizePicks primarily. That's where I put together my charts, where I do all my cool stuff, I like to think, at least unique stuff. I'm the only one who does this for PrizePicks. No one else is putting out stats like I am. No one else is calculating PrizePicks fantasy scores. I'm the only person willing to do that right now. So definitely check me out. I mean, you guys would be here. I'm tired. But yeah, that's what we're going to be doing. That's what we'll be breaking down first. We'll go through PrizePicks first, then we'll go to DraftKings. And I'll share my picks for each app after. I mean, DraftKings, the way I do it is I'll go down the lineup and just tell you guys who I'm playing for GPP, who I'm playing for cash. In PrizePicks, we'll go down through each chart and talk about it, but I already have some plays to tell you guys about. So, if anybody's new to the show, what PrizePicks is it's an app that allows you to bet on fighter props that wouldn't exist otherwise. So, you know, you can go on a sports book and you can bet Chandler by KO, for example, right? But you can't go on a sports book and bet, all right, Chandler's going to get under 45 strikes. Like, that's not something available on any book. PrizePicks, they make that available. There's another app, Underdog Fantasy, who does it too, and I do try to cover them as well, but they tend to have lines available a bit later. But anyways, PrizePicks, they have 4 categories. There's Fight Time, which is just over-unders, honestly. That's the one category I don't love. If you've ever seen my show, I kind of just gloss over it in case someone else is interested, and I give pros and cons and whatnot. But myself, I essentially never play time props here, because if I'm going to play a time prop, it usually makes a lot more sense to just play it on the books, unless it's like juice to hell and the same line is available on PrizePicks, so then I can play it. But the thing with PrizePicks is also you're parlaying. You can't just play one. Like, for example, on the screen I've got Tyra over under 12.5 minutes, right? I can't just parlay that. I mean, I can't just play that straight. I have to play it with somebody else on this card. So, one sec. I got a notification from the app. I want to make sure. Alright, because yesterday we had a bunch of technical issues with the Wi-Fi and whatnot, and then I had technical issues leading up to this stream. So, if anything's wrong and someone's in the chat, if you could just let me know. But, anyways, so there's the Fight Time category. Then next is Significant Strikes. This is one of the ones I like more straightforward too. You know, it Maximum 33.5 strikes. Do you like over or do you like under that? It's that easy. Fantasy scores. I'll talk about the scoring system here later, because it is different than DraftKings, which leads to very different results. So it is going to be important to understand the little things there, and I'll go over them for you guys. I do apologize about my bed in the background. Normally it's made nicely. I'm in the middle of a laundry day. Today's my first day of being a human in a while, so I've been getting my shit together and doing a bunch of chores, and I almost cursed because I just cursed. I'm really trying to curse less. I heard that it affects your algorithm and whatnot for the video, so that did stress me out, but oh well. So, fantasy scores, we'll go over this, but it's just a fantasy score. Like, if you play DraftKings, like, you understand what it is. It's just different scoring criteria. And then it's just an over-under there. And then lastly, it's takedowns. Just over-under on takedowns, how many you think somebody will have. So, I kind of shortly mentioned it, but the way these work is you got to pair them, right? So, I could pair Tyra and Hadley to go over on their fights, right? Over the time. That's set. So, I can do that. And that would give me 3 times my stake. So say I stake $100, I'm going to get back 300 if it hits. There's other options. You can build it up to 4. 4 people will give you times 10. And then you could also play 4 people as a flex play. That's a whole nother story. I don't do flexes, but that's because I don't go past 2. But a flex just means that you can miss one and you'll get paid less if you hit the other 2. So that's what that is. Excuse me. So but I do stick to 2 pairs. I did change it up a little bit this week, and I made 2 plays with 4 people. and we'll talk about it at the end. That's to 10 times my money, so we'll see if we can hit one of those this week. Anyways, so we'll start now, and then we'll work through this. Cheers. So, up first, we've got Tatsuro Taira versus Candelario. Taira, I mean, this fight is set at 12.5 minutes, so it's 2.5 rounds, exactly the same as it's set on the books. And in Taira's entire career, so he hasn't had any UFC fights. So the way I do these things is in the column that says past numbers for this stat, I put their most recent fights. If it's a UFC fighter that has over 3 fights or 3 or more, I only count those UFC fights. If they've got less than that, then I'll count up to their last 10 fights, including the regionals. Otherwise, that's why you see the UFC vets, they might have less than 10, whereas you have Nascimento, it says the last 10, right? So that's why it's that way. So for Taira, he's gone over 12.5 minutes only twice. He's only gone to decision 2 times. Or no, he's only gone to decision once. So I'm not sure where the second... Oh no, he's gone to decision twice, so that's why it's 2 out of 10, 20%. And then on the other side, you got Carlos Candelario. He's gone past this 12.5 minute mark 4 out of 9 times. And I mean, like, this is, I don't know, this is why I say, like, don't play these. This is just like a shitty line. I don't know. I don't, like, see an appeal here. I feel like it's pretty stupid to play it. Because, like, look, if Taira wins, it's going to be under, right? If Candelario wins, it's probably going to be over. So you could do it that way. If you think Taira's going to win, just play the under here. It's probably safer than playing some of his other things if you think he's going to do well. I personally don't think Taira does well. I think some people are tweaking. I've heard some hilarious things like that Taira is the better striker here. Like, are you kidding me? Taira is a better striker than the Golden Gloves guy, Candelario, who's been just training at New England Cartel at this camp. Taira has the better striking. Tweaks. I'm telling you, tweaks. Anyways, yeah, so this even pisses me off, honestly. It's just like a shitty line. I'm not going to be playing it. I don't really want to talk about it more. I don't see an angle here, so I highly suggest you don't play that. Hadley Nascimento, 14.75 minutes. Essentially, they're saying you can play fight goes or fight doesn't. Again, just go to the books. Like, fuck PrizePicks. Don't play that. That's a stupid line. Like, there's just no reason to play that. They're trying to take your money. I'll look at it right now. You can play that exact same. You can play the line for 2.5. If you want to go over, like, you might as well play the 2.5. You're going to eat a little bit of chalk. It's minus 175 or minus 158 on FanDuel. But at least you don't have to parlay it with anything. And at least you don't have to go all the way to those 15 minutes. That said, if you think the fight doesn't go the distance, then yeah, play it here on PrizePicks. Because you get almost the entire fight rather than the 12.5. I just don't... Again, I don't see an angle here. Hadley's gone the distance 2 of 8 times. And Nascimento has passed that mark 7 of 10 times, 70% of the time in his last 10. So, Nascimento is normally going to decisions, and in his UFC career, in his 2 fights, one on the Contender Series, one in the UFC, he's gone to the decision both of those times. Hadley, on the other hand, he rarely goes to decision. It's only happened twice in his career, not even, or, yeah, no, it's happened twice in his career, and yeah, so, this can go either way. I'm not playing it. I don't suggest anyone does. I'm in a mood today, if you guys couldn't tell. So if I seem a little uptight or tense, that's why I'm in a bit of a mood. But having a bunch of technical issues before this, and I was getting pissed. Anyways, here we got Torres versus Camacho. They set the line here at 9.5 minutes, so just under 10 minutes or 2 rounds. The books have it at 1.5, 7.5 minutes. That line sits at, let me check it. On the books, it's minus 145. So, like, if you think it's the over here, just play it on the books for that minus 145. Literally just do that. Rather than trying to play over 9.5 and having to parlay it. Like, literally F you, PrizePicks. Insulting our intelligence. That's what they're doing. Yeah, but if you want to go under, yeah, take the 9.5 minutes. I mean, I can't blame anyone for really taking an under here. Torres, power hitter, doesn't go the distance at all, really. Just once in his career. He's only gone past this mark one of 10 times, 10% of the time. And I don't know. I feel like he can starch Camacho in the first round. If Justin James, who's horrible, can do it, I mean, Torres can do it too. I think Torres would smoke Justin James like 10 out of 10 times. I think he'd kill him. But I personally think Camacho is going to end up winning a decision. I have that played as a prop. So I would tend to lean over. But if I'm going to play the over here, I'm going to go in the books. I'm not going to do it here and give away my money. Moving on. So Grant versus Smolka. They set this one at 10 minutes. On the books, it's 12.5. 2.5 rounds. I'll check what that line is set at. Yeah, so the under, which is where most people are going here, the under 12.5, not the under 10. The under 12.5 on the books. People are playing that, and it seems to be sitting at minus 160. So, yeah, I mean, this one, I guess, is a little bit, I don't know, a little more playable. Because, like, all right, you get a 2.5 minute difference between the PrizePicks one and the non-PrizePicks one. So the books do give you a better chance of hitting, more time at least. But they're also charging you minus 160. So, Grant, 10 minutes. I mean, Grant and Smolka, 10 minutes. Like, realistically, if you think that the fight finishes, it's probably going to finish in the first 2 rounds, right? So, do you really need that 2.5 in the third? I don't know. So, here, I'm thinking whether you want to play under or over, you might as well do it on PrizePicks. Grant, 6 of 9 times he's hit this, hit over 66% of the time in his UFC career. And Smolka, in his last 10 UFC fights, he's hit this 3 of 10 times, and he's never hit this as a bantamweight. So that's worth noting too, because this fight is at bantamweight. And yeah, I mean, I think Grant starches Smolka pretty quickly, to be honest, but I don't want to play a time prop on it. I'm not interested there. I don't know. I would maybe play the under 12.5, even though I just said you might as well play it on PrizePicks, but I just really don't like playing time props on PrizePicks. I really don't. Alright, so here we got Cutelaba Span. Cutelaba sitting at, I mean, the line on PrizePicks is sitting at 6.5 minutes. And in the books, it's 7.5 minutes, 1.5 rounds. Cutelaba's hit the 6.5, the over 5 out of 10 times in his last 10, so 50% of the time. And Span has gone over that 6.5 minutes 3 of 8 times, 37.5% of the time. I think this goes over. I'm fairly certain it goes over that 6.5. Look, I get people are saying Span is first round or bust, and I get where they're coming from, but I just don't really agree. I think Span's going to try to play a closer game plan. I think that he's going to try to play a composed game plan. And I don't see either of these guys finishing each other in round 1. Early in round 2, I guess it's possible. I just think Cutelaba's been recently on this new grappling heavy streak. It's been his thing. And if he does that, I'm fairly certain we go over. If Span gets his way on the feet, it's going to be slow and kind of a staring match too. So, I don't know. I like the over 6.5, but like I said, I'm not going to play it. I don't do time props on this app. But if you need a time prop in your life, I guess the 6.5 on Cutelaba Span over sounds pretty good to me. And then last we got Rakic, Blachowicz. The line on PrizePicks is set at 17.5, so it's 3.5 rounds. And on the books, it's set at 22.5, 4.5 rounds. So this becomes pretty binary, right? If you want to play under, just play it on the books. You get an entire extra round. You want to do the over, do it on PrizePicks. You get a whole less 1 round less to deal with for the over, right? So you might as well do that. Like I said, I won't be playing it. I do think this goes the distance, so that 3.5 over is probably a decent look. Rakic has hit this So he's never had a 5-rounder, so he hasn't had the opportunity to hit this. But out of his 7 fights, he's gone to decision 5 of 7 times. So maybe if those fights were 5 rounds, maybe they would have gone to decision too. We don't know. But it's, I guess, at least a little bit relevant, right? And then Blachowicz, out of his last 10 fights, he's gone over the 17.5-minute mark just one time of 10 times, 10%. But he's only had 3 5-rounders, so out of those 3, he's hit it 1 of 3 times, so 33% of the time. Again, I'm not going to be playing it, but if you need it, if you need a time prop in your life, you need a pick here, I'd go over 17.5 on PrizePicks rather than doing it on the book. Alrighty. Alright, so like I said before, significant strikes are pretty straightforward. It's literally just how many strikes are they going to get, over that amount or under that amount. It's that simple. I have a few angles here that I usually go with. If somebody's a big spinner, I'll go under. If someone's a big blanket wrestler, I'll go under. If somebody spins and is a big blanket wrestler, I'll spam the under. If someone has a good output but often struggles because they get taken down, it's going to depend who they're fighting. If they're fighting a wrestler, I'm going to take their under. If they're fighting somebody who can't get them down, I'm going to take their over. So those are my looks, how I do this, and let's work through it together. So this is my first play of the night that we've seen. Maximov over 33.5 strikes. So he's hit this only 1 of 3 times out of his 3 UFC fights, 33% of the time. And excuse me, dry ass cough. So the reason I think this goes over is because I think that I think that Petrosky is going to... Look, Petrosky has a wrestling base too. If you watched my show yesterday, I went on a rant how Maximov is a much better wrestler than Petrosky. And I still stand by that. I do think that Maximov is still much better than Petrosky in the wrestling department and the grappling and the BJJ. But, you know, I think that it's going to be enough for Petrosky to be able to get up to the point where Maximov's going to have to strike at least a bit. And I mean, you still get significant strikes on the ground. It just has to be very significant, right? It can't just be like those little shots. Those don't count. So I do think it goes over. I think they spend a decent amount of time on the feet. Maximov's been really working on his striking. He's been working on that big turtle shell he uses on his striking game in general. You can see him slowly getting better combos, better work with his hands in general. So I do think we see him go over here, over that 33.5. With Punahele, he got close, and he was taking him down the entire freaking fight, right? So give me the over here. I played it a few times. I'll go over it once we get through the whole PrizePicks section of the stream. All right, then Tyra over under 42.5 strikes is what it's set at. We don't have any numbers to work with there, but this is my second play of the night, and it's under the 42.5. Similar to the angle I was just talking about, Tyra is a blanket grappler. He depends on it. His striking is not good. Like I said before, some people out here are tweaking, talking about how Tyra's striking is better. What they're seeing, I don't know. Maybe I'm the one tweaking and I'm just missing something, but I think it's a very silly thing to say that Tyra's a better striker than Candelario. He's a better grappler without a doubt, but like, let's not make things up, right? So I think his output is really low for Tyra. I think that he depends on the grappling, and I think he's going to be looking for it, which means he's not going to be striking so much. And if Candelario keeps it up, I don't think Tyra's really going to have much to get past that 42.5. That's not a high number, but it's also not the lowest number. You look at it, right? I mean, let's look at somebody like Johnson, right? We'll talk about him in a sec, but 60.5, that's a little bit higher than 42.5, and he's only gone over 4 times, right? So it's a decent number, and it's high enough where I think that Tyra's not going to cover, and I am playing that fairly comfortably, the under 42.5 on Tyra for his strikes. Next we got Jandiroba, 55.5 She's covered this only 1 of 6 times in the UFC, and she's another play I have. She's one of my less core plays. I have a bunch of core plays that I essentially made a round robin out of on the app. I'll talk about that when we get down there. But Jandiroba's separate. She's one of my smaller plays. But this is, again, like similar to what I said, when a grappler is fighting a striker and the striker can keep it up, I think Angela Hill's going to keep this up for the most part on the feet. Jandiroba's going to be forced to strike. So, with all that said, I think that she is going to cover this number. I think that Angela Hill is going to make this a striking fight for the most part. I think Angela Hill wins, but I still think that there's going to be an opportunity for Jandiroba to cover over 55.5 strikes. Next up, Michael Johnson. They have him set at 60.5. He's hit this 4 of 10 times, 40% of the time. And I'm not going to go over here. I mean, I'm not going to bet this probably, but I think that the under is a good look here. And I think so for 2 reasons, right? Let's say that you think Johnson wins. More than likely, he's going to have to do it by KO just because he hasn't shown that he can win decisions nowadays. It hasn't been the case. So, if he's going to win this, he's probably going to have to finish Patrick, which he can absolutely do. But if he does, he's going to go under that 60.5 probably. Most finishes happen in the earlier rounds. So, that means, by definition, there's going to be less strikes than there would be in the 3rd round, or if the fight went the distance. And add on top of that, if you think that Patrick's going to have some success, or even if you don't think so, he's going to get the fight down. He's going to grapple. Patrick is a high-level BJJ guy. I believe he's a black belt. He trains over at Shootbox now with Charles Oliveira. He was there supporting him this past weekend, and I believe Charles is over there with him and Nascimento now for this week. And yeah, I do expect Patrick to grapple, and because of that, I think Johnson's going to have less opportunities to let the striking output go. So that 16.5 is going to be difficult for him to cover, and maybe I might end up adding a play. I'll put it in bold for myself because I do go back to these charts, and hopefully I can go back to it later and find a spot to match it up with. Alright, so next up we got Lee. They have her strike set at 80.5. She's hit this 4 of 8 times, so 50% of the time. And this is just too high of a number. Even though I do think Lee can go over, like even in 2 rounds of Cynthia Calvillo, she hit this. She covered this in 2 rounds only, not 3. She's fighting Araujo. Do I think that she finishes Araujo? She could in the 3rd round. Does she? Probably not, but she's been becoming a more potent finisher, so it's hard for me to say for certain. Because of that, I don't want to play the over, and I definitely don't want to play the under because she's live to do this. There's the grappling opponent angle to think that maybe it goes under a little bit because Araujo is going to grapple her. And Lee's takedown defense is not that great, so she's probably going to get taken down a bit. And 80.5 is a high number, so I see the argument for under here. I'm just not going to play it. I think there's better spots on the card. Hadley, 35.5. He's never hit this in his one Dana White Contender Series fight. He did not cover. And look, I think he does cover. I think him and Nascimento will have a bunch of exchanges on the feet because of how good they both are on the ground. So it's probably worth looking at. I feel like there's so many unknowns in this fight. I just didn't want to have too much at stake. But now that I'm thinking about it again, I do think this is probably going to cover. Nascimento is going to probably want this more so on the feet. He's not a big wrestler. He loves to be on the ground. He's very good at it. But he's not often the one taking it there. Hadley will. Hadley will try. But Nascimento's going to bring it to him. I don't know. I think it covers, but I'm a little hesitant to play it. Torres, 53.5. He's only had 1 fight on the Contender Series. Didn't cover this. And I don't think he covers it again, honestly. I don't hate the under here. It's just I'm not like super hyped to play it because with the small amount of tape on Torres, I'm not positive of like what his output will look like over 3 rounds. But I have the feeling it's not going to be that high. I also think that Camacho is going to be grappling him. And another angle here is if you think someone's going to get an early finish, they're probably going to go under on their strikes unless their strikes are set very low. So if you think that he's gonna finish Camacho in the first round, then for sure play the under. I think it's a good play. I'm probably going to play it myself, but it's not like one of the ones that jumped for me right away. Chookagian, 65.5. I do believe this is one of my bigger plays. She's covered this 6 to 10 times in her last 10 fights, so 60% of the time. And yeah, I mean, this is very straightforward. She's just a high output lady. She puts out a high output. She's a big striker. That's her thing. She doesn't like to take it to the ground, but she does sometimes. Took down Jennifer Amaya for whatever reason. And yeah, I mean, I just think that, look, so she's fighting, what's her face? She's fighting Amanda Ribas. Ribas is going to be way smaller than her. She's giving up so much reach, so much height. Ribas is going to try to grapple, but I think she's not going to find a lot of success against Shook. Even Arugio, like, she got Shook down. She got to hold her down, but, like, I think Arugio is a better, maybe she's not a better grappler than Ribas, but she's stronger and she's actually in this weight class, and she's also a really good grappler. And Chookagian won that fight, so I do think she covers the 65.5 here without much difficulty. So it's definitely one of my more heavy plays. Alright, this is another one that's like tempting. So they've got Grant set at 44.5. He's covered this 5 of 9 times in the UFC, particularly in his last 2 against Yanez and Vera. This is another one. Look, like, the numbers suggest that it's going to go over. The tape suggests that it'll probably go over. But there's the concern of, is Grant going to just knock this kid clean out? Because I think he might. Look, I'm not a big person for, like, looking at someone's last fight, but Smolka not too long ago got knocked out cold by Vince Morales. Grant hits like 30 times harder than that guy. Like, I'm not sure that Smolka's going to be able to handle him. I think Grant's going to be better everywhere. I don't think Smolka's going to have any advantages whatsoever in this fight, not even strength or cardio. And because of that, I think it's possible Grant goes under also, just by sparking Smolka. So I do lean the over, but I won't be playing it either way, because I could see it going either way. All right. So for this one, we got Ion Cutelaba. He's set at 37.5. He's covered the 6 of 9 times in his 9 UFC fights. Something's wrong there. No, he's had 10 UFC fights. I mean, he's had 11, so I counted his last 10. So it should be 6 out of 10. 60% of the time he's covered this. This is an interesting one. I don't know how I missed this before. Why is this so low? I don't see any reason it should be so low. Like, alright, so Devil's Advocate, how does it go under? KO in the first round. On whose part? I guess Span. If you think that happens, play the under, but, like, I think this is going to probably go the distance, or at least more than one round. So I do think Cutelaba is going to have a bunch of chances to cover this. 37.5 isn't high. So yeah, I like 37.5. I will play the over there. And then Rakic is the last one. I'm going to just say it right away. I'm not playing him. I think he's incredibly... he has no urgency. He's got zero urgency. I hope he never touches a title, even though I was a big fan. It's just like, I don't know. I hate the style. I hate the way he talks about things. The way he comes at Jiri, as if he deserves a shot and Jiri doesn't. Whatever, that's like completely irrelevant to breaking this down. But Rakic 57.5. He's only covered this 2 of 7 times in the UFC, and I don't think he's going to do it here. I think it's going to be a staring match. I think that Blachowicz is live to knock him out, even though I don't think that's what happens. I do think it goes to decision. I understand Rakic has a good shot at winning this, but I don't want to play the 57.5. It's too high for someone who has zero sense of urgency and a really low output. Rakic has every tool to be a really good, at least challenger, if not really good champion, and he just doesn't do it. So what are we supposed to do? We can't bank on it, so we're not going to play him. All right. So what I'll do now is I'll go over the fantasy score criteria for PrizePicks. I'll go over how it's different from DraftKings, and then we'll go through it just like we did the other categories. So the way fantasy scores are calculated on this app on PrizePicks are each strike is 0.6 points, each takedown is 6 points, each sub attempt is 5 points, each takedown defense is 3. That's a big difference too. Knockdowns are 12 points. Takedowns, I just said, a finish in round 1 is 100 points. A finish in round 2 is 75 points. A finish in round 3 is 50. A finish in round 4, if there is one, is 30. And a finish in round 5, if there is one, is 25. And then a decision win is 20 extra points. So, 2 key differences. The takedown defenses, those don't count on DraftKings. And here they count, and they can make very big differences. If somebody is fighting a big output wrestler who doesn't get a lot of takedowns, but they just try for a lot, that's something to consider before playing someone's under. Good example, Rakic, right? Rakic fought, I don't remember the guy's name, but hold on. I want to make sure it's Rakic I'm talking about too. Yeah, so Rakic fought Francimar Barroso. Barroso got 2 takedowns, and he missed 12 of them. That's 36 points that Rakic got just from that. Rakic doesn't score a lot of points. We'll talk about him in a bit. He's an incredibly low scorer, and I'm going to be taking advantage of that here. But so yeah, that's something to consider because they can get you a lot of points at 36. And the other thing is top control is not rewarded here like it is on DraftKings. On DraftKings, you would want to play somebody like Maximov. Here, not so much. You see that 108 score, and you're like, okay, that's good. But he got 11 takedowns. That's 66 points that he got. Without those takedowns, he would have scored like garbage. So, it's like, he's going to get the takedowns here too. I just don't think he's going to need 10. I don't think he's going to need 5. I think he's going to only need a few, and I think he's live for a sub too. I think he's better than Petrosky literally everywhere. So, I think the under here is extremely live. I'm very interested in it, and I might play it myself. The only reason I don't want to is because, like I just said, I think that Maximov could finish this guy. And if he does, then he's going to get like 175 or 100 or 75 points if it's in round 1 or 2. Even if it's 50 from round 3, like it's probably going to be enough to cover mixed in with all his other points. So, especially if Petrosky decides to try to grapple him, we can pick up takedown points, right? So, I think it's risky to play either the over or the under on Maximov's fantasy points, so I'd much rather play that over 33.5 strikes for him, and that's what I did. Tetsuro Taira, 93.5. Again, I'd rather have played his strikes, which I did. Why? Because, look, by taking his strikes, I'm covered both ways. I think that in a decision, loss or win, Taira doesn't cover, and I think that if he does win by an early sub, he's definitely not going to cover his strikes, right? But if he does get that early sub and I play the fantasy score, then I'm going to lose. With my strikes, I'm safe either way. So that's why I preferred that for him. In terms of his fantasy score, 93.5, like I just said, it's just not worth playing because either he can pick it up easy if he gets that sub, otherwise he won't get it. So because I think either thing is equally likely to happen, I won't be playing this one. Alright. Next we got Jandiroba, 77.5. She's covered this 3 of 6 times, so 50% of the time. I have no interest in playing this. If I did, I would play under because I think Angela Hill wins the fight, so with a loss, it's going to be very difficult for Jandiroba to cover this. She does do pretty well in her losses, but because she gets takedowns, she has good takedown defense herself. But there's just too many unknowns here, and I think Angela wins, so it's probably going to be an under, but I'm not going to play that. Michael Johnson set at 76.5. He's covered this only 2 in his last 10 times, 20% of the time. And again, for him, he's just old, unreliable. So he can get a flash KO. He can get grapple effed. He can get subbed. I lean under because even if he wins, I don't think he knocks Patrick out in round 1, but he can. That's the thing. Like he can do that. Excuse me. So I don't want to play this. This one I have in bold because I'm mad at myself for missing it. Lee, they set her at 76.5. Out of her 8 UFC fights, she's covered this 6 of 8 times, 75% of the time. That's impressive, especially for a woman fighter, because they're not getting lots of finishes, so it's often hard to get a higher score with that unless they put up a really high output, which some of them do, like Shikagian. We'll talk about her in a sec. So I think Lee's gonna cover this. She smashed it in her last 2 because she got those second round finishes. But even without a finish here, I think that she's gonna put out the higher output. I think she's gonna pick up the extra 20 decision points. I think she's gonna be able to block a bunch of takedowns from Arugio, getting her 3 points at a time. So I do really like her to go over here, and I am gonna play it. So, and then next, Hadley, 85.5. He covered this once. He got 109.6 in his Contender Series bout. And for this one, again, I think it goes under even in a win because he's going to have to grapple with Nascimento. He's going to have to hold him down, meaning he's not going to be getting a lot of points because they're not getting points for holding someone down. They get 0 points for that. 0. You don't get any points per second by holding someone down on PrizePicks. So that's why I'm not really interested in playing Hadley, but if I did, I would do under because I don't think he finishes Nascimento. I think that if he wins, it's going to be a decision and he's going to go under, but I don't really want to play it. And then Torres, 80.5. He's only covered this one time. Again, this really just comes down to if you think he's going to win the fight or not. I think Camacho probably wins, so under is probably which way I would want to go, but similar to Tyra, I think that Torres is more than live to just kick Camacho in the face or knock him out with a 1-2. Camacho, like I said, I don't think I can ever forgive him to losing to someone like Justin James. So yeah, I wouldn't play this one either. Shikagian, 75.5. In her last 10, she's covered this only 2 of 10 times. She got dangerously close in her last one, but no cigar. And then the fight before that, she covered 102. And yeah, I mean, again, the reason I wouldn't play this either way, I mean, obviously the numbers suggest to play the under, and the fact that Shikagian doesn't get finishes also suggests to at least take a shot at the under, but I think it can go over in 2 ways. A, if her output goes crazy like she does sometimes, or B, if Ribas is shooting tons of takedowns and Shook is just blocking them. Again, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points. Not that hard to cover 75.5 with a win and takedown defense, so I wouldn't play this one either way, even though the numbers do suggest to go under. Grant, his score's at 94.5, and he's only gone over this 2 of 8 times. In his last 2 fights, he lost, so he wasn't going to get close to 98.4. And then the 2 fights before that, he did hit because he won those by finish. So, because I think he finishes Smoke quickly. I think he probably covers his price tag. I mean, this score, but too many unknowns is too high for me. I rather just sit with my Grant KO, which is what I have off of like on the actual books. So quickly opening another drink. Been a long ass day. Cheers. Alright guys, so next one, we got Kute Laba. His score set at 90.5. He's covered this 5 of 10 times. And look, he's been getting very close. What's impressive is he covered this in his fight with Jacoby, even though he didn't even win, so he didn't get a win bonus. It was a draw, so he didn't even get the extra 20 points. And he still covered, so that's impressive, and it suggests to me that it's likely that Kute Laba covers here too, right? I mean, in a win, he's guaranteed to cover it pretty much. He has almost every single time, other than once. It's been a while since he got a quick finish like he used to, and he's been much more grapple heavy, but his output's there. It's like 8, 7, 9 times every time. But it's also because those guys are difficult to hold down. But again, I think Span is also going to be difficult to hold down. So this can go either way. I won't play it. I don't suggest playing it. I think we picked out some better spots earlier. And then Rakic, I love this spot. Under all day long. Even in a win. In what planet? Look how low his scoring is. It's like laughable. And this guy wants a title shot. 41.6 points in his last fight, which he won. 64.4 points in his last fight, which he won. That is so poor. That is such a poor performance. So I'm playing his under all day long. If he wins this, it's going to be a staring match decision, and I'm going to feel comfortable with this under. So I like it a lot. What is this? All right, and then we're up to the last category. We'll go through this. I'll go through my picks, and then we're going to fly through DraftKings. I don't have my charts today for it either. It's been a crazy few weeks. Like I mentioned yesterday, I am in law school. I did just finish my second year. Just finished finals yesterday, so I'm still becoming a human being. Did all my laundry today. Cleaned my house, all that good stuff. So I'll be more here for the rest of the summer and whatnot, so that's good. But yeah, we'll fly through this and then we'll be on our way. I don't think we have a single live viewer anyways today, so it's alright, it happens. But hopefully we can start growing a little more. Been a little disheartening. We've been stuck at 33 subscribers for quite a long time now, and I don't really know what to do about it. So, but anyways, let's get through this. So takedowns. For this one, I normally love takedowns. I have a few like round robin pieces here that I used for the app, but so let's talk about it. So Maximov 3.5, he's covered this 2 or 3 times, 66% of the time. The reason I won't play this is I think 3.5 is a bit too steep. I think it's possible that, like I said, I think he gets Petrosky down with no issue. Like if he shoots 4 times, he's gonna get all 4. I think. I just think he might not need to do that. I think he might sub him quick. I think he might sub him in the second round, but I think he's going to be able to control him from top. So, because of that, I don't want to play it. I definitely don't want to play under on a guy like Maximov, because he can do that in the first round. He can cover that. It's an unknown of how much he's going to need it here, so I don't want to play it. Tyra 2.5, I've played it just once. I have it on one play. And, look, I like it because Candelario's not the best takedown defense guy, but I don't love it too much because he's going to be improving that. It's not like he's terrible at takedown defense. And I don't think Tyra is some legendary wrestler either. His BJJ's top tier, but his wrestling, not so much. Jandiroba, they set her at 2 takedowns. She's covered this only 2 of 6 times, 33% of the time. And I'm not playing it because Angela Hill's been working on her takedown defense. It's slowly starting to look better. She's getting taken down pretty much every single fight, and she probably does get taken down twice. Just not really something I want to play. Jandiroba hasn't hit it since like her first 2 fights in the UFC, so not really that interested in this one. And then Arugio, hers is set at 2 as well. She's covered this 2 of 6 times, also 33% of the time. I think of the 2, Arugio's got the better chance to cover the 2. I think it's live, but I'm very high on Lee here, so I'm not going to be playing that. Hadley 2.5. He hasn't hit this yet, but I do think he's going to hit it here. 2.5. They raised it. Oh, nah. Now it's actually different for me then. I played it at 2. I like 2 because 2 means, yeah, I need 3 to win. But if I get 2, it's going to be a push rather than a loss. 2.5, I don't have any opportunity for a push. I like 2.5 much, much less. I do think he gets Nascimento down 3 times. I don't think that's going to be that difficult. Nascimento is more than happy to go there. He's extremely good from the ground, and he literally won a round on his back against Tagiro Onbekov. So, yeah, I think he gets it, but they raised it now. I don't love it as much as what I got at the 2 takedowns rather than 2.5. Alright, and then last one up, we got Kutelaba. 1.5 takedowns is what it's set at. he's covered this 4 of 10 times. In his last 2 fights, he's blown this out of the water. I mean, 8 takedowns in his last one against Devin Clark, 9 takedowns in his fight against Dustin Jacoby. Yeah, I played this as part of my round robin. I think he's going to hit this all day long, to be honest. I think Ryan Span's going to be hard. I think Span is huge. He's going to have the size and strength over Cutelaba. I think Span can wrestle too, but I expect Cutelaba to at least get 2 takedowns. I'd be surprised. So, I really like that line. I think they messed up and set it a bit too low. Alright. And now we'll go through my picks. And then we're going to go on our way to DraftKings. So, first up, we'll go through my primary two play pieces. So I just mean that I split them into 2 pairs of 2. And I pretty much did every combination of those, 6? So yeah, I did every combination of those 6 in pairs of 2. So it's Chikagian over 65.5 strikes, Maximov over 33.5 strikes, Cutelaba over 1.5 takedowns, Hadley over 2 takedowns, Rakic under 91.5 fantasy score, Tyra under 42.5 strikes. And then my other 2 picks that I did only a few times, Jandiroba over 55.5 strikes, Tyra over 2.5 takedowns. And then, first time in a while, definitely first time since I started the show, that I'll be doing 4-person plays for a 10 times return. I did 2 of them. Hadley over 2 takedowns, Cutelaba over 1.5 takedowns, Maximov over 33.5 strikes, and Chikagian over 65.5 strikes. That's my first one. And then the second one is Rakic under 91.5 fantasy score, Hadley 2 takedowns, Tyra under 42.5 strikes, and Jandiroba over 55.5 strikes. So those are my plays here. And yeah, alright, let's run through DraftKings and then we're going to call it a day. Let me move this. Alright. So real quick, for anybody who doesn't know, 2 different kinds of games that I'll be referring to the entire time we do DraftKings. Cash games, GPPs. GPPs are just tournaments you want to do. Only people who will get you finishes or high scores through grappling. And you want to look for people who are going to be less owned. Why? So that you can distinguish yourself from the many people and get a higher score than them and win a bigger prize. Now, the reason you don't care so much about the floor is because if somebody loses, you're already not going to do as great. You need winners with very high ceilings. That's what you want for a GPP. By high ceiling, I just mean by a high score that they can reach. Having a path to do so or having a history of doing so. For a cash game, it's a whole different story, right? In a cash game, there's no places. There's no first, second, third. It's split. Either you made it, you made that threshold, you made it to the top, whatever it is, 50%, I don't remember what the split is. You made it over that hump, you double your money, and that's it. That's what a 50-50 is. There's triple ups, there's other ones, but I do double ups, and that's what it is. It's just, you got to make it over that hump. So what you want in a cash game is obviously you still want to score high, you still want high scorers, but what's a little more important is to make sure you don't have anybody who's going to get you 0, 9, 5, 15 points. You want at least like 40, like if you're going to take, for example, say I take someone down in the 7,000s, right? I get a lot of salary relief if I can just make sure that person will survive and get me like 40, 50 points. I can then use that extra salary to put someone better up high. So that's how that's relevant. So we'll go through this now. I'll make it quick. I'd like to get us out of here before the 1 hour mark. We got about 8 minutes to do so, and I think we're going to finish in that time. I do apologize if I'm a bit off today. Not my best day. Been a long one and a rough one, so I do apologize, but hopefully I'm able to provide some good input for you guys, and hopefully I can make you some money. So now looking at DraftKings, we've got Maximov is the highest salary, 9,300. He's averaging a score of 110. He's DraftKings gold, man. He's high output wrestling. blanket top control, going to rack you up tons and tons of control time, going to rack you up tons of takedown points. And I think he's live for a sub finish too. So for me, Maximov is a must play on pretty much everything. It's a little rough with that 9,300 salary, but I'm very confident in him, and I think that he's probably going to be optimal. Davy Grant versus Smolka. Davy Grant's 9,100. I like Davy Grant also for both cash and GPPs. I don't think that Smolka has any path to victory here, so that's why I like Grant for cash, and I like him for GPPs because he has every opportunity, every chance, and every skill or tool needed to knock Smolka's head off. Tyra at 9,000 is mostly a fade for me. He's definitely a fade for me on cash because I don't know what his floor is going to look like, and I think it's possible that it's low. So for 9,000, I'm not going to play him on cash, but for GPPs, I have him a little bit. I mean, look, the opportunity, like the path is there for him. He can just take Candelario's back and sub him. Candelario has shown a difficulty in keeping people off his back, but he's never been submitted either. So that's something. It's funny because you hear people. We're all like, when I say people, I mean myself too. I fall into these things too, but we're all so selective with what we remember. Everyone who wants to bet Tyra, you'll hear them say Candelario always gets his back taken. Oh yeah, like it happened with Altamirano. But how many times has he been submitted? That's how many times. 0 times. But no one says that when they want to bet Tyra. We all feed our own biases, you know? So, yeah, Tyra for GPPs for me, but not for cash. Kutelaba set at 8,900. I'm playing him on both. I think the takedowns are live. I think a finish could be live. I don't think so, but Span has shown some terrible fight IQ and not the best chin. And Kutelaba is a madman, so I do like him. Just not going to be overly exposed to him. Jake Hadley against Nascimento at 8,800. I'll be playing him on both as well. He has a path to just lay and pray here and rack up a bunch of points. And while I think that Nascimento's live and I bet him money line, I find it hard to see him finishing Jake Hadley. So that's why I like Hadley for cash, and I like him for GPPs because he can lay and pray. I don't think he finishes Nascimento though. Rakic is faded big time for me. I have no interest in playing him here. What is he going to do for us? Stare at Lakovic and get 5 points over 5 rounds and win the fight still? Like, nah, I'm good. Chikagian, also a fade for me this week. It's just like, look, like, what is she going to do to score high for you? And she's set at 8,600. For cash, like, yeah, for cash she would be good. Her floor is not low, and she's probably going to win, but you can do the same with women down lower and save salary for someone a little bit better. Like, is Angela Hill really going to score that much less than Chikagian? I don't think so, unless she gets subbed, but I'd rather play Angela Hill then, you know? And that's exactly why I'm not playing Jandiroba. So Jandiroba, if I did play her, I would only do so on... I'd only consider doing so on GPPs, but I don't think she subs Angie either, so I'm not going to do that. Johnson, I have him on literally like 1% of my GPPs, and I don't think he wins. He's better, without a doubt he's better, but that's probably why he loses. He just does that. Yeah, I mean, he's live for a KO, right? So I do have him in my GPPs. I'm not going to put him in my cash because his floor could be horrible, especially against a grappler like Patrick, but he should win this fight. He's just not going to. Torres Camacho. Look, you got to play Torres in GPPs. He can flatten Camacho's face, like I said before. If you're getting knocked out by Justin James, like, yeah, people are putting up a good point. Like, James just jumped in there with reckless abandon because he was on short notice and had nothing to lose. But, like, he still sucks. So, I don't know. I think Torres can do that too. And at 8,300, then on GPPs, he's going to be probably optimal if he gets a finish. But if he doesn't, I don't think he's going to score high for you. So, I would not suggest him on a cash game. Andrea Lee, I do like her. I played her a bunch for my cash games. Not so much for my GPPs, even though out of all the women here, I probably like her the most for a finish. But, yeah, I do have her in cash. I do like her there. So, for 8,200, she's a good play. Araujo also a decent play for cash. I think Araujo's still gonna have her success. I don't think she'll score that low in a loss. And 8,000, it's that midpoint. It's not the best salary, but it's not a terrible one either for cash. I wouldn't play her for GPPs. I don't see how she finishes Lee. And I don't think she just picks up blanket top control either. So Camacho, 49.1 average score. They got his salary set at 7,900. And for this one, I'm playing him GPPs also because I think he's live to win in a few ways. Lay and pray also. And I wanted to go for that low ownership angle. But I'm not playing him in cash because, like I said, that floor is low because he can get just flash KO'd again. On Patrick, I'm playing him a decent amount on GPPs, and I'll tell you why. The ownership's going to be super low. Everyone thinks tremendously low of him. Everyone thinks of him as the guy who quit against Mason Jones, and he did quit. But he's got a path, man. BJJ black belt. He can grapple. Guida held Johnson down for over 6 minutes. I think Patrick can do that too. He's very strong. He's bigger than Clay Guida is. And I think he's going to give Johnson some issues. Like I said, Johnson's the better fighter and he should win. But he's very well might not. And for 7,800, I like the upside with Patrick. Low ownership, grappling upside, high grappling output. He's had fights where he put up 8 takedowns. I don't see why he can't do something similar here. So I like him. 7,800, I like him. And Angela Hill, not for GPPs, but for cash, I love her. I love her for cash. I don't think she gets subbed. I don't think she gets grapple fucked. I think even in a decision loss, she's going to score enough to make that 7,700 work for a cash game. So I do like Hill. Ribas also, she's tolerable. Chikagan is not going to finish her. There's no way. So, maybe, but I don't think so. So for 7,600, that's some relief, right? And Ribas, while she is smaller, like I said before, she does have some grappling upside here. So for 7,600, not a bad look for cash either. Blakovic, I've got him in both cash and GPP, 7,500. Don't hate it at all. For GPPs, Polish power, can't deny it. Always live for a KO. For cash, like I said before, I think Rakic can win this for sure, but what is he going to do to Blakovic to make Blakovic score low? Is he going to wrestle him? No, he doesn't wrestle. People are saying all these things about him grappling. Where did you see this? Because he laid on Smith? He didn't take him down even once in that fight. He just ended up on top. So I like Blakovic in cash as well. Nascimento, I like him in cash. Not cash. I like him in GPPs. The reason I don't like him in cash is because if he's stuck on his back again, he's not going to score anything for you. But I like him for GPPs because I think he's going to be low ownership. He's live for a sub, even though I think it's unlikely. But because of those reasons, I have him on a few plays. Ryan Spann, they got his salary at 7,300. Another good salary relief. Look, Kutelaba has been beaten in the first round. I understand more recently it was Magomed Ankalaev. Yeah, and Ryan Spann is no Ankalaev, but Ryan Spann is 6'5" to Kutelaba 6'1", and he's a big man. And Kutelaba's a bit undersized for 205. So, yeah, I like Ryan Spann for GBPs. Definitely not for cash. He can get wrestle-left, but for GBPs, I like him plenty. Candelario at 7,200. For me, he's cash relief, but it's risky. It's risky because he is live to get subbed, right? So you got to be careful there. I just don't think it happens. But for cash, he's also good. I think he's going to be live for a late finish, and I do like Candelario. I meant for GBPs also. But Smolka's a fade for me, and Petrosky's a fade for me, so I won't waste anybody's time there. I'm not playing them. I have zero exposure on those guys. And that's it. That's it, guys. So thank you guys for tuning in. I do apologize if I'm a bit of a crank today or if I'm a bit off. Rough day, but we'll be back better than ever next week. In terms of all these other fight organizations this week, I will have picks out for Bellator. I already have some. I'm playing Logan Storley money line, but I got him at like minus 203, so I don't like the new line. And I'm also playing, forgetting his first name, but his last name is Trainer, I'm pretty sure. I'm playing him too. I parlayed him up with Storley, and I parlayed him up with Grant, and I parlayed him up with Maximov, and all in their separate small parlays. So that's what I did there. But yeah, I'll probably be putting out more picks for that stuff. But yeah, thank you guys for tuning in, and have a good one.